Welcome to part 6. So we're going to finish up Konnect 1 today. I'm going to skip ahead to page 15 and section on asking for help. Now, I didn't include that in the original Konnect 1. It's been added to the new ones because it's something that kept coming up from the children that we were working with even in our Konnect program. You know, some kids found it difficult to ask for help. And then also they found that maybe they were getting help that they didn't need. You know, so it's like, how do you help a kid to navigate that? So here we go through, everyone needs help sometimes. I think that's a very short sentence, but very powerful and very important for kids to hear, because sometimes we can think we're the only ones who need help, but everybody needs help and everyone needs support. It just looks different for different people. You know, so sometimes we might need to ask for help for something other kids do not, and that's okay. Other kids will need help with that, with stuff that we do not. You know, and that's huge, that actually look around and see that everyone around us is getting help and support. It's not that we are the only ones who need it. It's just, unfortunately, our systems and schools are set up so that often autistic kids do have to look for extra support because maybe it's not provided initially. And then that can obviously have an effect on a child, and that they think they're the problem. That they're like, well, I'm always asking for help. I can't ask for help again. You know, so it's really important to talk about this and point it out that you're just doing what everyone else is doing, maybe just for different things or in different ways. We might need help to do something, or we might need help to feel comfortable. Very important. It's a good idea to feel comfortable all of the time. Now, yeah, that's quite obvious, isn't it? We should be comfortable. How many autistic children are putting up with being uncomfortable, feeling pain from the sensory onslaught of their environment, or feeling uncomfortable in social situations, or feeling confused, or feeling like they don't belong, or feeling like they're not invited or welcome into the group that they're in. You know, so actually knowing that, wait a minute, you mean I don't have to feel like this, is huge, you know, because so many of us have put up with lifetimes of being uncomfortable. So just put that out there with the kids, you know, talk about it. And yeah, you should actually feel good and comfortable most of the time. Obviously, we're human beings. We're going to have times where we're a bit uncomfortable, and that's what life is like for most people. When you're autistic, you spend a lot of your time being uncomfortable. And that's why this, you know, this part of the book is here. And this is why we're talking about it. If we don't ask for help, we can end up feeling uncomfortable. And that's not very nice at all. Because we are sensitive to things around us, we can find things hard to deal with at times. For example, we might feel uncomfortable if there's too much noise, or very bright lights might hurt us. How do you communicate that something is uncomfortable to you? And this is so important and so invaluable to ask the child, because I know from training, you know, schools and other professionals and parents, you know, where I was like, you know, what's my child doing when they're doing this, or how will I know? And I'm like, ask the child, because, you know, we're just trying to jump to conclusions, aren't we? And the person who has the information really is the child. And some kids will need, you know, more support in exploring these questions. And again, you know, go back to the questions on how we express our feelings. And, you know, we talked about what you do when you're happy or excited and worried and blah, blah, blah. Now we're talking about what you do when you're uncomfortable. And, you know, if this isn't enough information, then provide more information, like, you know, maybe you're wearing something and it's not comfortable. How would you communicate that? Or have you ever felt like afraid of going somewhere new or meeting a new person? And how would you communicate that? Because what we're trying to do is to learn the early signs of discomfort for this child. Very early signs. We don't want them to be distressed and dysregulated. We want to be able to see, okay, this kid is uncomfortable now. What can we do about it right now? And if we look out for those early signs, we stop everything escalating then, don't we? Remember that we communicate in lots of different ways. So we might get restless, or we might go quiet, or we might shout out loud if things get too much for us. And these are all individual responses. And again, you might shout out loud one day and you might get restless another day. So exploring these. And then, of course, depending on, you know, whether you're a parent or a teacher or somebody working in a school or a professional, you can make a note of these and say, okay, right, who needs this information? You know, and it's like when we used to run our kids' classes originally, we used to give parents like a passport page, so they'd fill in all the information for us. And it was just wonderful, so helpful, because we'd know if child X does this, you know, then that's a sign that they're a little bit anxious. They might look for mom, they might ask the time, they might, you know, hold their teddy a bit tighter, or they might, you know, do this kind of stimming or whatever. And it was like invaluable, because particularly parents, you're going to have a really good insight at your kid. You're going to know what they do in those situations. And if you can share that with other people, fantastic. But then if you're working in a school, a child might be doing things they don't do at home. So the parent might never see it because the environment is so different. And this is where sharing this information, if you can, with each other is, you know, going to make a huge difference in the child's life and in your own lives as well. And then we talk about, you know, what has happened if you have told somebody or signaled, don't have to use words, mouth sounds. What have you told or signaled to somebody that you were uncomfortable? What happened? And here we find out what responses the child is getting from everyone else, and who can you talk to when you need help with something. And these questions are there because so many kids keep everything inside and they don't feel they can talk to somebody. So it's really important that they know that they have someone they can talk to. And then we talk about it can be find words to explain to others, especially when we're little. Are there some words that you might like to write out on cards so that you can use them when you find it hard to think of them? Because when we are uncomfortable and when that stress is building, being able to talk and articulate goes out the window for many of us. It's very hard to do that. So having another alternative way to communicate our needs at those times is really important for kids, isn't it? And then maybe you could draw out some pictures and take some time doing those with the kids. So obviously that's part of page 15. And there's a lot in it. And you can, I suppose, develop, you know, communication cards or what else they can do. And how can we tell people about these things in advance? Because that's, you know, I suppose what we talked about in the passport, it was really, really important. And we'll talk as we go through the books and through the series about maybe building a communication profile. So you're probably all familiar with sensory profile, you know, things that this kid finds very uncomfortable, things this kid likes. But a communication profile will include all of these things. So I would say take a note of all the things that you're learning about the way the child communicates and what they're communicating, and see how you can maybe put all this information together into a communication profile by the time we finished the series and finished the books. So thanks for joining me. Talk to you the next time.